Hello and welcome back to my channel. I want to talk about the journey that I went through because 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I can't remember exactly how long ago, I was 55 pounds heavier. I had just broken up with someone who was cheating on me with some girl in Florida. I was over in London and I was making like less than a third of what I make right now. And so what I'm about to talk about has positively impacted every single area of my life. And if you're someone who clicks on videos like this, you're one of two people. You know, I talk about this. You're probably not a loser, right? Because losers, I always say, don't watch videos like this. But at the same time, you might be someone who's delaying taking actions by watching videos, like as an action, versus actually just doing the thing. Or you're someone where you watch these things to inspire you and you do them. And if you're in camp one today, I hope I bring you a little bit into camp two with some of these principles. Now, obviously, I make like 12K a month. I have a husband. We have issues, like normal couple issues. And my life is so far from perfect. I am 27 and, I'm still figuring it out just like everyone else. I'm not claiming to be an expert of anything. And so if that's what you look for when you click on these videos, I'm not your girl. But if you're just looking for a friend to sit down with and to talk about these things with, that's why I make these videos, because I want to help a younger version of me or talk to a younger version of me. And yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Just some principles that help me get to losing 55 pounds in a healthy way. Like, I literally did not think about it. Getting into a better relationship, and then, getting married, that's a big one. And then tripling my income, which has had probably the biggest impact on my life. I can't lie. Obviously my husband had the impact on me that was part of what led me to have that greater income. But really, like, being able to build wealth for me has been so instrumental. And it all started with a very harsh pill to swallow, which is that it's all my fault, right? And there are times where I forget these things, especially when things get really, really difficult. Like, I'd say the first year of my marriage was so hard, and I definitely went into playing the victim a little bit, like, just being completely honest with you guys. There are different scenarios where I have gone in and played the victim. And there are other scenarios which have been really hard, which I've just kind of been like, made the mistake, let me just clean it up, right? But the things that are really difficult that keep on repeating, I really had to look at myself and be like, this is all my fault. Like the weight gain, I went through like a cycle of restrictive and binge eating sort of thing since I was like 13, right? And so then I finally went to therapy for it. In therapy, they just expose you to all this stuff, and I had been like severely under eating, so my metabolism was really messed up, gained all this weight, and then just had to find a healthy medium and stop focusing on food entirely, and things naturally tapered off. But I had to confront a lot of myself in this process, right? And there was no bigger wake-up call than my boyfriend cheating on me, because he was the second guy to have done it. Like, he was my second boyfriend, second person who cheated on me. At that point, I looked at myself, I was like, okay, yes, they suck, but also I'm part of the problem, right? I keep choosing these guys. And so I had to do a lot of work on myself. Like, I was single for over 2 years until I became the version of me that the person that I had determined I would want to marry would want to marry as well. So there was a lot of inner work there. And like I said, I'm still so far from perfect, but I think we can look to our outer world a lot of the times to kind of be a mirror of our inner conditions. And again, like, I'm so far from a guru, but people that I love is like Layla Hermazi. I really like Fareen Ash. She's like not as well known on YouTube, but she has amazing energy. I'm going through her program right now. It's so hard. And then Margarita Nazarenko. Those are three people who I feel like have really helped me in my journey to, be more emotionally regulated, take more self-responsibility, and continue to move forward and improve and get better. Another thing was like the 12-week year. I looked at myself, I was like, I'm not that consistent. I'm focusing on all these things, which is totally normal. By the way, I would say that I am like a feminine person, and so naturally, I would say that people tell me I'm very smart, but I'm also a little bit chaotic, and I'm more like concerned with fulfillment than I am like optimization. And so things were a little bit chaotic. Once I was able to hone myself in enough to like focus on certain activities, that's when my income really tripled, because the first few years my business was hard, really, really hard. And I loaned money to someone I shouldn't have, because I was hoping that they would just like get me out of the predicament I thought I was in. Ended up in a worse place than I had been in the beginning. And then someone else, they kept on promising to pay me and they didn't. And I was like, for sure they're going to pay me. They're on like $500,000 a year and they just never did. Okay, so I was just like totally naive, which is not a good place to be. You're not a victim if you're naive. You're just naive, and you need to get better at not being naive. That's where I came to it myself. So I'm saying that to you because it's a lesson that I needed to learn. And if you're hoping to get like a pat on the shoulder here, like someone to cry with, I could be that on a different day. But honestly, like, I don't think people like listening to that sort of stuff too long, at least not like the frequency of friends that you actually want to be around. And I'm not saying we all have to be the same. Like, you can have friends with like different levels of ambitions, XYZ, and those people can still make your life better, whether they're more ambitious or less ambitious, if they really believe in you. But it really does come down to like, who are you being? Because you're like, I think at the end of the day, like, you're not going to be surrounded by the best people if you're always someone who acts and thinks negatively. It's just not gonna work out. Like, those people aren't gonna be around you as much. And of course, like, I would say like my husband, he's like kind of the opposite of me, right? So he does kind of lean a little bit more negative, a little bit more pragmatic. And so I'm a little bit too optimistic, I would say. So we actually end up, I think, balancing each other out, where he now realizes that he needs like more people in his life, more community, that sort of thing. So that's to say, like, no one's perfect, and there's also like a lens where you can be too naive, too trusting, but then I'll go into like the victim sort of mindset. So just be careful of that. Like, so much of this is just about balance and integration and just like becoming a whole balanced person. I think marriage really helped me with that, but it all started with that one lens of like, this is all my fault. I need to change now. You know, I was 24 at the time, and I think when we're in our 20s, we can think, oh my God, I have so much time. And I just have not been that way. And part of that is because I'm like, have the fear of the biological clock. You know what I mean? I did want to have kids. I still do. I'm just not as like attached to that outcome, if you know what I mean. Like, I would love kids if it happens. Then if it also doesn't happen, I'm kind of fine with that. But at the time, I really felt like that strong pain point. Now I just feel a strong pain point because I'm like, life's too short. You know, life is literally too short to be doing things that aren't fulfilling, to be living a life that's like just repeating itself, right? Like, I probably lost like 10 years of my life to my eating disorder, right? Where I could have been working on all my insecurities, doing all that inner work and stuff. But 13-year-olds don't really know about inner work. But so I didn't have that self-awareness at the time. And it's all just part of the journey, like recognizing where you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Like, I don't say this is all your fault to fill you with like shame and stuff like that, because I've also had those feelings, right? Like, I feel feelings of shame when I think about my past. But the more I integrate, the more I just can like joke about it and accept that it's a part of who I am today. So with that being said, kind of summary of the first point, I've said a few times, but repetition's key, right? Is that I really took everything from the lens of everything's my fault. And that's when I was really able to make changes. And so if you're not there yet, or if you can only think about it intellectually, then I really suggest investing in yourself in some way, in some sort of like coaching program. I know that people say that there are like gurus out there and that people are fake. It's like, I have not personally found that experience, because I have another video on this where I find that when I invest in someone who has achieved what I want, really the biggest impact is that I've invested in myself, right? And so then I take that goal more seriously. So if there's something in your life that you really care about and that you really want to make better, I would recommend working with someone, just because it's like, when you invest in that thing, like I said, you take it a lot more seriously. But at the end of the day, like how I talked about at the beginning of this video, how there are two types of people who watch these videos. One person is using the videos as a substitute for change, while the other person is taking these things in and actually changing. It's easier to be that second person when you freaking paid for the thing, because you're like, well, I don't want to waste my money. Okay. So I would definitely go see if there's a creator that you like. Like, I normally spend like $400 a month on coaching. I did that even when I was dead broke, right? Like, with just starting my business, like all this sort of stuff. Like, and I really couldn't afford it at the time, but it's been the thing that's been most instrumental in helping me get to where I am now. So even though it made my life harder then, it's made my life way better now. So I also have that video, like I said, on investing in yourself. It's got like a thumbnail that says be selfish, and the title is like, I'm embarrassed I didn't know this in my 20s. So if you want to check that out, definitely go ahead. At the end of the day, I also brought this up because if you're watching this and you're person one, it's probably time for you to make a decision. Tony Robbins talks about this a lot as well. I really like Tony Robbins. But the worst decision that you can make is not making a decision. And so when I started building up my muscles to make decisions and be there for myself and not self-abandon, things got so much better. And I honestly find that if I need to set like a timeline of when to quit something, you know, there are exceptions to this, but probably is not the right thing to me for me if I'm thinking about like how long am I going to go until I quit, right? Like that's just a time for me that I realize like, okay, I need to stop doing this thing for a little bit. And it's in that loss that I'm more able to discern, should I keep going or not? And that's obviously very situationally dependent, but just a little bit of food for thought on what has kind of worked for me in terms of like walking away from things and coming back. Like the things that you release, you know, maybe sometimes you release something good, but a lot of times we know in our hearts and in our guts if we're having to abandon ourselves in order to be something or be in a relationship with someone XYZ, right? So this is just like my chit chat with you, just kind of talking about the things that changed my life, right? So again, that whole question of like, or whole idea of everything is my fault, you know, if you really sit with this long enough, like you should feel very, very sad. And if you don't feel sad right now, then it hasn't landed. You really need to sit with the thought harder, think about all the bad things that have happened to you, and stop being a victim. You know, this is my advice to my old self. um, the second thing is investing in yourself so that you take things seriously and so you take yourself seriously. I really used to self-abandon a lot, and investing in myself has made me see myself as my biggest asset because I've invested so much in myself, and that's been supremely good for my confidence and self-esteem. But I've also coupled that with decisions and actions over a long period of time. Like I have so much more trust in myself than I did 2 or 3 years ago. And it's not even because I achieved the results that I said at the beginning of this video. It's because I became the person where those results just happened. So when we really shift what's on the inside, do our spiritual work with God, find things that are actually in line with our purpose instead of distractions from them, I found that for me, that was so instrumental in achieving the results that I have right now. And that's not to say that my results are amazing, like 10 out of 10 for some people. Like some people want to be on like $1 million a year. I wouldn't mind being on $1 million a year, but I trust it'll come when the time is right for me. But those people who are at that level, maybe my advice doesn't work for them. But if you're someone where you're a little bit behind me, that's who this video is for. So thank you for watching. I hope you found this useful, and feel free to leave me any questions down in the comments. I do check them. And yeah, I'm rooting for you always. Cheers.